What's the difference between being responsible and being response-able? Hey there, Daniel Hartman, Community Machinery, Sackville, New Brunswick. I tell you, I've had a crazy couple of weeks in terms of feeling like there's a lot of design revisions on this project I'm working on. And sometimes the best way is just stepping back, not even thinking about the project and letting the subconscious, setting the intention to come up with some great solutions, but not being so cerebral and feeling like the fate of the world depends on coming up with something great and just pulling it out of a hat every instant. So yesterday I was just working away. I was helping do some moving, completely unrelated. Well, not completely unrelated, related to the shop, but just not related to this project. Doing a task that's unrelated. Had two really great solutions to some challenges come up. So one was a step as far as being able to clamp a bunch of components instead of doing some complicated welding in order to just try something out. And then there was another step in that process. Was, oh yeah, instead of using round tubing, I could use square tubing. Instead of using uh, round U-bolts, I could use square U-bolts, and then the square tubing, there wouldn't be anything spinning around the shaft. It was clamped on there. Oh, that is just brilliant. Just those thoughts were just building on one another, and really learning how to ride those waves is one of the things for any entrepreneur, anyone in business. Even if we're working in a job, we're not really into to find out more ways to make it more efficient, to add more value. It's just cool stuff. And thinking about, especially having all these friends that have young kids, it's been years since getting the piece of advice that one of the best things that you can ever teach kids is how you believe in them, how you know they have what it takes. And it's not, you got to remember that words are just containers that hold emotion. Just by saying I love you, if it's empty, same as when we say hi to people, we say, hey, how are you doing? We don't mean how are you doing, we just mean, hey, I see you there and I'm walking this way and you're walking that way, see you later. So when we say I believe in you, you got what it takes, it's really, we can say it to the depth that we know that in ourselves, that we have what it takes to get through every obstacle before us, and we've got through every obstacle up to this point, and not everything has to go the way we think it's supposed to in the moment, that in the end, things, that, just choosing to believe there's a bigger plan for this universe, pretty cool stuff. Anyhow, I was also looking at my goals for the year, and I realized 254 days for my house goal, and there hasn't been a whole lot that's really solidified around that. Because before I was thinking, oh, do I make something movable? Do I try and find a place to be long term? No solutions on that. So it's interesting in terms of what's going to come together on that, having set that intention, having made some steps, starting a conversation with people who think a lot about housing, and it's interesting. And as far as the whole comment at the beginning is being responsible or response-able, I got that from Wayne Dyer way back. That was one of those things he said. He had a bunch of quirky sayings. Anyhow, it's a really great thought as far as there's another saying about being disillusioned or disillusioned, where a lot of times we carry an illusion of how the world is supposed to be, and when we lose that illusion, we get to see the world through eyes of clarity, but things become more painful before they get better. And part of that is the grieving process in recognizing our parents might not have taught us some things, our elders weren't around. Who are the elders who are supposed to be teaching us this stuff? Sometimes it's someone younger than us that teaches us because they're more pliable. And traditionally, any kind of indigenous culture, these things are captured in the elders, and the elders share with the coming generations how to create unity. And my life, I mean, my grandparents are just as much likely to start a the conflict as to ever end one. And I imagine, Western culture, that's just what we've grown up in. We don't really question it, or we don't really have a reference point as far as what good peacemaking really looks like. I know groups that have a lot of teachings around peacemaking that don't even hang out anymore. And I'd say one of my deeper intentions is really being open-minded in terms of realizing there's going to be times I'm going to miss the mark, or that I'm going to make commitments. And I recognize now, part of me, I avoid commitment because when I realize when I give my word on something, I need to do everything in my power to make it happen. And it's also on the other side, when those things don't happen, it's a lot of work on the other end as far as forgiving myself in terms of letting go of those judgments of what I wanted to see happen and where I let things slide, what was going on. And that's one of those things we don't really learn a lot about. Forgiveness, a lot of times we look at forgiveness as something someone else is supposed to give us, when really it's about us giving ourselves some freedom, cutting ourselves some slack in order to try some things and just to do our best. And when we recognize, did I honestly do my best? That can really take the edge off. So, on that note, it's getting close to the weekend. It's Friday. And hope everything's going well with you. Please comment if you found this interesting. Please like and subscribe. And you can also hit a little bell there to get notified when there's new content. That's all I can say for now. Just gonna keep ramping this thing up. Just gotta keep going. Probably at 30 some odd subscribers at the point when I'm posting this video, and still working towards 100, and then 1,000, and then 100,000. Anyhow, it's all gonna happen all in due time. Just gotta keep at it like anything else. It's just like breaking rocks. It's not the first strike that does it, but you got to do the first strike in order to get to the one that does break it.